Few years ago, I received a call from my former boss at Disney. His name is Larry, and he says, "You got to go to lunch with Michael Hanley." And I knew that Michael was in the insurance business, and I was like, oh, Michael's going to shake me down and buy some insurance. So, sure enough, I call him, and he said, "Hey, come to the Bay Hill Country Club where I'm a member and have lunch with me." And I'm like, huh? The Bay Hill Country Club? Built by Arnold Palmer? Absolutely. So on this particular day, I show up in my Sunday's best. We're sitting, visiting, having a great conversation. And I notice out of the corner of my eye, hunched over is an older gentleman. And I said, "That's Arnold Palmer." So being a bit bashful, I get up, I walk over to Arnold Palmer, and I say, "Mr. Palmer, thank you so much for being a great American. Thank you for what you've done for the game of golf and sports." And Arnold Palmer looks up at me and he says, "Thank you, young man." And I'm about to take my camera out to take a picture with Arnold Palmer, and there was an entourage that's around him that started to move in. And I heard the soundtrack in my head, bad boys, what you gonna do when we come for you?" And I was like, this is probably not a good idea. So I go back and I'm sitting down with Michael, and he's just holly laughing. He's like, "I can't believe you did that." I'm like, "What do you mean? There are no phones, let alone photographs that are supposed to happen in the club." And I was like, "Michael, this is my first time here in the club. How did I know?" And so we laughed it off. It was totally hilarious. And Michael didn't try to sell me insurance. So a few weeks passed by, and I'm at an event and I'm speaking and I'm about to leave the stage. And they said, "You can't leave the stage." I'm like, "Why can't I leave the stage?" They said, "We have something for you." And they take out of the bag this hat that is from the Bay Hill Country Club that had been autographed by Arnold Palmer. I didn't know Michael was in the audience. And I was like, this is incredible. And still, he didn't try to sell me insurance. But I was starting to really appreciate who he was as a person. Well, a few months passed by and Arnold Palmer passed away. And Michael and I happened to bump into each other at an event, and we reminisced about that day at lunch when I first met Arnold Palmer, and certainly him giving me the gift of the autograph hat. And what I recognize is that Michael's standard of creating what I would call customer experience or customer love, how he served that moment was really understanding what was important to me. And he didn't try to sell me. So he began to understand that his standard was to connect first, sell last. What's your standard as it relates to the service that you provide to your customers every single day? I want to give you a quick acronym that will help you think about sparking your service standards. So, see everyone that you work with and serve, see them through the lens of a guest and commit to connect. In other words, meet them right where they are. Personalize the moment, right, for them, because when you personalize that experience and personalize that moment, it becomes that emotional deposit into their emotional bank account that they're like, "What? That's like phenomenal." And then anticipate their needs by listening and observing. Once you observe what's going on, then you can respond. And that leads me to understanding when you are uber responsive in how you serve your customers, then they are happy that you took care of them. And then finally, keep them loyal with acts of kindness, because when you do, they remember the standard of excellence that you have demonstrated. And not only will you love them, but they will love you and yelp about the experience that you've created for them.